It is an honor today to have Bryce DeCora on the podcast. Bryce is the co-founder and CEO of Closebot, where he gets to use his background in AI, engineering, sales, and natural language processing to shape the future of AI agents for sales. Previously a software developer at Boeing working on new AI projects, Bryce's passion for learning foreign language eventually led him to creating Closebot. Bryce, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Good to see you.
It's good to see you as well.
Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
I would love to start with you sharing a little bit of your story with our listeners. I hit a couple of the high points, but how has your journey gone, particularly around your journey and your development as a leader? How'd you get started?
Yeah, around being a leader, it's been meandering, but really started when we had our first son. Becoming a parent really forces you to become a leader.
Changes your world, doesn't it?
It really does. I'm fortunate that it happened when we were so young. We weren't necessarily planning on having kids at that point, but it really forced me to grow up at a young age. I was 24 at the time, so it's not like I was super young, but I felt young. So, having a son, getting the first job I could, and just wanting to provide for the family. That's what sparked it.
Wow. And this started at Boeing, or did you start somewhere else?
Yeah, we had our son straight out of college. I had to take the first job I could. We grew up in South Dakota and Nebraska, and we really wanted to stay around there, but the world had other plans. We ended up out in Washington State, which we love now, but that took us away from family. We have no family in Washington State. It was just up to my wife and I, newborn, new job at Boeing, and that really put us out of our comfort zone. And that's where I really started to grow up and become more of a leader. I found myself in a leadership accelerator program at Boeing. So I learned a lot of leadership skills there, and even led some projects while I was at Boeing.
Nice. I can relate to kind of being thrust into that environment when you don't have family nearby. We moved here to the suburbs of Washington, D.C. When our first child was 2 weeks old, 12 hours away from the closest family, no support system, came here for a job. And that's a tough thing. And it really does create that bond where my wife and I had to really lean into each other. It sounds like you guys had to do the same thing.
Yeah, we did. 2 weeks old as well, because we had to wait until he was old enough to fly. That's it. I assumed it was the same thing.
Just crazy. And people were like, "You're doing it now? You're moving now?"
Yeah.
But you do what you got to do, right?
You experience so much growth out of the hard times.
Yes. So true. So you're at Boeing. You're leading some projects. You're really getting your leadership chops developed, sharpening that saw. How'd you get from there to starting your own business?
Well, I was a mechanical engineering student, first of all, not computer science. I realized I didn't like leadership at Boeing. It was just such a big company. I didn't want to work my way up the management ranks and just get caught up in the bureaucracy. And I also didn't like mechanical engineering. So I was like, well, I just spent so much time and money on mechanical engineering degree. I don't like it. I spent time in this leadership thing. I don't like the big bureaucracy of this company. I don't want to be in leadership. But I started making more and more friends in the computer science department, specifically because I was learning foreign language and trying to find ways with computers to analyze the way I was learning language, just weird hobby stuff. They
Interesting.
found it interesting too, and they wanted to bring me into their prototype software group to do some AI stuff. And they were happy to do that and teach me, even though I didn't have any computer science experience or AI experience. They just threw me in.
So, and I'm just totally curious here. Talk about that just a little bit, because what year was this that we're talking about?
This was probably 9 years ago.
So you've got, like, in the last 3 years, maybe 4, AI has really been the hot topic. Everybody's talking about it, particularly in the digital marketing world. But 9 years ago, this was not like the topic du jour.
No.
That's the very definition of bleeding edge. Like,
Yeah.
what drew you in? Was it just their invitation, or did this really light something inside of you that you were like, oh man, this is amazing?
Was starting to love software. One of them was my mentor, and I was building this side project called Finite Languages, where we would analyze written blogs from non-native speakers and analyze it against native speakers. So I was already like getting a passion for dev work.
Yeah.
And then they brought me into this group, and I learned the right way to do things, because I was just, self-taught, learning off the internet. And when I started with the group, AI, very new. We were training our own foundational models to pull out text from old handwritten airplane drawings to make it searchable. And it's just really cool stuff. And it was very hard. It was not like today.
Wow. So then what? Like, how do you step from that environment to stepping into a place where there's not a real safety net to the entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, great question. It was a few things. We were in a prototype group at a huge company, and I started to realize they were never going to use any of the software we made.
It's disheartening.
They were just big, old company, slow to change. And that was disheartening. And none of the work I did mattered. And then at the same time, my wife was starting, Laura, now our COO, she was starting to get some traction in real estate, and she started making more money than I was. And I was like, I have a mechanical engineering degree. I'm a computer scientist doing AI at Boeing. And she doesn't, and she knows, I mean, no negativity when I say this. She doesn't have a degree, and she's able to just go out there and quickly make more money than I was. And I was like, I'm just going to do that, I think. So I did it on this side. I was working at Boeing, and then weekends and evenings, I would like knock doors and just try to get real estate sales. And when I got my first couple, I went on a leave at Boeing, unpaid leave, to see if I could make this work full time. And I was able to hit my target of how much money I wanted to be able to make. So when my leave expired, I told them I would not be coming back. And that's when COVID happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
Timing.
The next month COVID happened. And so it was the hardest time in real estate.
Yeah.
We also just moved into a new fixer-upper house. So we had like buckets all over the house collecting water from the rainfall. We had a couple rooms we couldn't go in, and they were sealed shut because of like mold issues. We found out we were pregnant with our second at the same time. It was actually fleas that let us know. Weird thing, fleas are attracted to the hormones of pregnant women. So I was not getting bit, and my wife was getting bit. And I looked it up, and they said she could be pregnant. So I was like, Laura, I think you're pregnant. And she's like, no, I'm not. She took a test, and sure enough, so new broken house, no job, fleas, new baby on the way. And when you're put in a situation like that, you just have to make it work. So even though I realized at this point I also didn't like sales, I was going to sell some houses.
Right.
And I did.
You got to provide. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to provide for your family. You do what you got to do.
But my interest was never in the sales side. So almost like I was back in the same position at Boeing doing something on the side. I was doing more computer stuff on the side, trying to automate the sales process. And it's that eventually became what is Closebot.
So talk about Closebot, because I know a lot of our listeners may be familiar with it, but many may not be. What is it? What does it do? And why does it matter to the customers that you serve?
It's a conversational AI that does lead qualification and booking. This is designed to plug into your existing CRM and with high accuracy, qualify leads and book them to appointments. We are the number one booking agent right now for high level and soon to be HubSpot.
Wow. That's quite the accomplishment, just that alone. When you say conversational, you mean this is an AI that is talking to people who may not know they're talking to an AI?
Yeah. Oftentimes people don't know. It's up to our customers to decide how they want to build these, but they could do it in a way that it doesn't disclose it up front. Totally up to you when you're building it. We built it in such a way that makes it so quick and easy to build. You don't have to understand prompting. We do all the hard prompting stuff on our end, and you just drag and drop components to our screen, and the rest happens.
You know, we were both we met at a conference down in Mexico about a month ago. And when I heard you describing this and talking about it, it was the first time I'd heard of Closebot. And I was just leaning in, and I was astounded at some of the stories that you were telling of how this is making a difference for your clients. Can you share a story or two where you've seen a client grab onto this, take it, and it has just catapulted what they're doing?
Yeah, my favorite one to talk about is a marketing agency that started running reactivation campaigns for roofers. And he sent, it was about 700 leads through this reactivation campaign over a couple days. And he churned up over $150,000 worth of business for this roofer in a matter of 2 days, reactivating old leads he didn't plan to ever do anything with. I mean, they already pay for these leads. They came in at some point through Facebook. So he had the information already there, and all it took was doing this, and revenue comes out the other side. So any company you do that for, just love you.
Yeah, absolutely. Generate $150,000 in revenue in 2 days.
Yeah.
I agree. Any company's going to lean into that.
Another
That's
one
remarkable.
Did it for a chiropractic office, and he ended up getting them so much business that they were too booked out on their calendar, and he ended up temporarily canceling the service with this marketing agency because he's like, hey, we have all the business we need now. Like, first of all, thank you. Second of all, we don't need this service anymore because we're so busy. Maybe we can start up again in a couple months.
Wow.
I mean,
wow.
He lost the client temporarily from that, but like such a win.
What an amazing case study that marketer can say, hey, look at this. I mean, wow. You know, as this show has continued to grow, we're starting season 4 this month. And there's about 50,000 or so people who download episodes a month, listening to the stories that are like yours. A lot of these people are in the digital agency space. And I bet some of them are not familiar with what you're doing. And what I want to do is I want them to get to know you and what you're doing and why. And that's why I invited you onto the show. I think Closebot can be an incredible tool in the bag for these agency owners who, you know, like you say, like this was just something that they were able to offer as part of a database reactivation, like do this. And what an amazing result that they're getting for both of these stories that you're sharing. I love that. And of course, I mean, you know, your results may vary, all of that stuff, but this is a tool that I think every agency should be utilizing.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was on stage speaking there, had people raise hands to see who was using AI in their business, and it was surprisingly few.
I remember that. And, I see it a lot outside of the agency world, with people who are still kicking the tires, still not sure this whole thing's going to happen. My wife and I were at the movies a few weeks ago, and the people behind us were talking about AI. We're standing in line, and I'm trying not to listen, but of course I'm listening. And there's one guy was like, "Hey, have you tried out this AI stuff?" And the other guy was like, "Nah, that's not going anywhere." And I'm just laughing inside my head thinking, hold on.
Yeah, you
Hold
wait.
on. I mean, it's coming. You just, wow. This is the world that we live in. And I think even in the agency world, there's a lot of people who don't understand how far this has advanced and how something like Closebot can make a dramatic difference for their clients and the results that they're getting, not to mention creating phenomenal case studies for the agency that they can use when they're doing outreach to potential clients.
Yeah. And you may feel like you're behind, but just from seeing how few hands were raised during that event, if you take action now, you're ahead.
So how does somebody get started with you, with Closebot? How do they jump in? If they have not been on this train yet, what's the first piece?
You can find us in the App Store of High Level, or just search Closebot. We're all over the internet, and create a free account. We have a free account where we even cover all the usage, up to 100 messages a month, which is usually enough to get one business off the ground. Do that, prove it works, get that business to pay you, and that'll more than cover the cost of an agency account.
I love that. Simple, easy, jump in and get started for free. I can't say I know a lot of businesses that are doing that right now.
Yeah, we're confident that it works.
And I think that's what that reflects. I want to talk about your leadership for a second at Closebot. You are leading at a higher level today than you had to even just a year or 2 or 3 ago.
Yeah.
And that same thing's going to be true a year, 3, 5 years from now as you continue to grow and find more and more success. How do you continue to level up? What do you do to stay on top of your game and be the leader that your clients and your team are going to need you to be in the days to come?
I think listening is the biggest thing. Listening to our users and listening to our staff members. When you listen to the pain and really internalize why that's there and what you can do about it, that tells you where you need to go, where you need to grow. I'm trying to think of a specific example. Not long ago, we had, like you said, we're growing fast, and our team just felt like they lacked vision in it. They didn't come out and say they lacked vision, but they kept asking what projects they need to work on. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs. Something people say about Steve Jobs is everyone knew what to do. The vision was so clear that no one ever had to ask him what to do. And so I clearly saw there was a vision problem, and that's a me problem. So I had to look at, re-identifying our vision, our mission statement, what our financial goals are and how we're going to get there, and then organize a meeting to let everyone know this, and then backtrack our KPIs, both weekly and daily, on how we're going to get there. And then everyone knew. Mm-hmm. So that's a specific example on how listening can help guide you on what you need to do.
Bryce, I love that. I think what you're describing is amping up the clarity. I think Brene Brown is spot on. She says, clarity is kindness. It's kindness with the people that we lead, and it's most kind when we're clear with ourselves. And what you did there is you forced clarity. You called a force play. And all of a sudden now there's no ambiguity. Everybody knows where we're at, where we're going, and what we're doing to get there. And if you're a leader listening to this and you have not increased the clarity with your team, I promise you they need it. Ambiguity never serves anybody well. It is impossible for your team to hit the bullseye if they can't see it, if they don't know where it is, if they don't know what a win is for their position, for their team that they're on, they will never hit it. So I love that you talked about that. I think that's so incredibly good. And the way you know is to listen. That is one of
Exactly.
the most powerful tools in a leader's bag. Love that you shared that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
When you're thinking about Closebot, like, where do you want to go from here? Like, what is one thing that you want most in these coming years as you are just on this rocket ride of growth right now?
I'm a technical founder, so most of my own desires come from where I want the product to be, the features I want it to have, the reliability I want it to have. I'm not very focused on revenue. I do focus on revenue just because I know how much it costs to bring on new developers.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I just want to build the product as fast and good as possible.
Mm.
So we have our roadmap of features, both our public roadmap and our private one. And I just want to make sure we get it to the maturity level that we want it to. Right now it's like a child and we're teaching it all the lessons and growing together with it. And we want to see that child become an adult, a full-fledged adult someday.
Hmm. So as you think about that and where you want to go with it, what do you think the biggest thing is that's stopping you?
I think imposter syndrome
Hmm.
is a big thing people have to overcome. I have to overcome it. And I have to set some really big goals. And sometimes I don't set the goals as big as I need them to be.
Hmm.
Like we just raised a friends and family round of funding late this last year. And at first I wanted to raise $100,000 to $200,000 and then just getting real with myself. I'm like, I need to dream bigger. So we raised much more than that. And then in this next funding round that we'll do early this next year, same sort of thing. When I sat down, I was trying to think about raising as little as possible, but that just won't do it. It's scary to think about bringing on all that money and having to deploy it into growing a team so fast, but it has to be done. And if we put ourselves in the position where it does literally have to be done or you die, we can usually make some pretty incredible things happen. And I've been there in the past. I've told you about a couple of the scenarios where I literally had to make it happen or we would die. In some cases, death is the death of a business or having to sell a house that we love or having to go back to a job that we hate. But oftentimes it's good to be in those positions where it's do or die.
That's so good. And I appreciate the transparency there. That is so good. And I think it is something that we can all relate to, at different points in our journey where we've been in that exact spot. And that's a theme that I've heard as you've talked about this, it's when your back is against the wall. It's when there's no other way, but we've got to make it work. And that's when you come out and that's when the rocket starts. You're always learning. And I think that's another theme that I've heard throughout your story. You didn't stop learning when you left school. You are continually learning even outside of your direct area of responsibility. You're learning over here and learning. I mean, it's part of who you are. I'm curious, is there a book that has made a big difference in your journey that you would recommend to the leaders who are listening?
Yeah. The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. You've heard of that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sinek, it's phenomenal.
It just, it talks about how infinite your thinking needs to be. We're not thinking about competing with a certain competitor today. We're thinking about just driving value for our customers now and into the future. Taking all the lessons learned from myself and other thought leaders and software products and just building on the back of giants that have already built stuff.
That's amazing. And I love that you're not focused on your competitors. I think that is wisdom. And that is what I see in the most high performance leaders that I work with. They're not focused on who's right behind them or who's running perhaps even ahead of them. And they're focused on their thing and moving that into excellence. And that is what I hear from you, what I heard from you when we met in Mexico and what I hear from you today in our conversation, that drive is what is behind all of this. You're going to make something that
Absolutely.
is going to be absolutely excellent, that is going to serve your customers, your clients to the highest level. And it's
And
only going to get better.
absolutely. AI moves so fast. There are going to be times where there are certain features we're not the leaders on.
Yeah.
Maybe another product is the leader in some area of features, and then we come ahead. But it's the infinite. I mean, we're not playing for the now. It's not about the
That's right.
battles. It's not even about the war. It's about forever. What we're building is for the forever goal.
I love it. You know, it's easy for some of our listeners to look at you, Bryce, and think, wow, what success, what a trajectory. And he could never relate to me. I mean, all the problems that I've got, he's never had. He's never really had the challenges. And you've been so open today about sharing some of those times when your back was against the wall. And you did have to say, this has got to work. And you put your shoulder into it. You know, even in the midst of the highlight reel, I think it's important for us to understand that the leaders that we admire most, that we see from afar, everybody has challenges. Everybody has struggles. If I had the ability right now to just snap my fingers and solve one problem in your business, what would you want that problem to be?
Oh, gosh, that is a great question. And I'm not hesitating to answer because I don't have any problems. I'm just trying to identify what the biggest one is.
There's a menu to choose from, right?
Yeah.
I know the feeling. I got the same thing.
There is a menu. I think if you could tell us exactly the growth trajectory of AI over the next even 6 months, that would help us out tremendously. But in fact, all of us building AI applications are just fighting blind.
Yeah.
It's not like building other software apps where things change every 6 months. It's like they change every week. I read publications every day and I listen to podcasts every week about what's happening this week in AI, and then we have to adjust our trajectory accordingly. But if you, Dr. Attaway, could tell me exactly the cadence of how AI is going to improve or not improve over the next 6 months, we would be set.
Well, if I develop the ability to see around corners, I know who I'm going to call.
Perfect. And that's the hard thing. We just don't know. As a leader, it's your job to collect all the information you have, all the information from your past experiences and decisions you made, where that landed you, and then just throw the dart and your team just follows you there.
Yeah. And there's never a point when you're ever going to be 100% confident. If you're waiting for 100% confidence before you move, before you make a decision, you will never move.
100%. When I started this, I had no idea how to build an app. I didn't know what high level was.
Wow.
I had only built apps for myself, so nothing ever for other users. Building this app as a self-taught developer, using Google every step of the way.
Wow.
And my mentors, and then slowly, like, you figure stuff out as things break, as you are put in pain, you figure stuff out. And now it is where it is today, where I am CTO, CEO, co-founder of Closebot, and we have a dev team, have a product manager. They're all ex-professors at a respected university. They taught computer science and C#.
Wow.
It doesn't happen overnight. It happens through a lot of pain.
Yeah. A lot of sleepless nights, too.
Yeah, less so now.
Yeah.
Now that we have a team, that's another thing. If you if you're in a position where you're having sleepless nights and you feel like you're on the brink of being able to afford someone, I would say just put yourself in a little bit of pain, take less pay yourself and hire someone, because my life changed when I brought in team members and learned how to leverage trust to them. That was huge for me.
That's good advice. Bryce, this has been such a phenomenal conversation. I'm so grateful for your time and the generosity that you've shown in sharing so transparently from your journey so far. And I know the best days are still ahead for you. I can't wait to see what Closebot's
Thank
going to
you.
do in the days ahead. I know our listeners are going to want to connect with you, continue to learn from you, and more about Closebot. What's the best way for them to do that?
Connect with me on LinkedIn for more big business thought leadership type stuff. I do my own AI research and I share about it there. Or X is a great way now to connect with me.
Brilliant. I will have those links in the show notes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Bryce, thank you so much for today.
Thank you.